Each morning, real RSI setups are broken down with entry strategies and the technical reasoning behind every trade. This is RSI Trade of the Day with Verified Investing.
Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Yesterday, the markets were insane. Our trade of the day flew past our entry price. It ended up stopping out. I want you guys to notice that right before our entry price, about 50 to 75 cents before it almost tagged it and then got a 4.5% pullback. At that point, it would be off of the table. My rules, I like price action to head right into that price target or our entry price in order for our entry price to stay solid. Once we get a 4%, 5% pullback, and my downside target is 4 to 5%. I think it was about 4 to 6% based on the fact that it was so extended. At that point, the exit price has already triggered, therefore negating that potential trade. So I ended up entering at $92.52. And let me go ahead and show you how I navigated that trade, made about $1,600. And let me show you exactly why I exited that trade in order to prevent further upside in that stock. So let's go ahead and go into the RSI recap. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. Okay, so MP, I noticed our entry price for MP was $92.52. So right here at this horizontal trend line. Price action got really close, so it got up to $91.78. And look at this pullback. This was a beautiful pullback, almost 5% from the top. This was incredible. I wanted price action to go right in there. Price action didn't get back to that level until 9:48 after a 5% pullback. So what I did, because I'm an inverse trader, so a counter trend trader, I ended up getting in at this $92.44. It did drop about 1.5%, almost 2%. I did not take my money. I actually dollar cost averaged up. So I added every $2.50 all the way up to $97.52. That's where our last ad was. I could have taken about $4,500, but I was still anticipating a bigger pullback. Ended up chopping sideways, never got filled again. And then look at what happened to price action. So price action, the volatility got sucked out of MP. Price action just continued sideways. Ended up exiting right here, probably about $96, or excuse me, $96 or $97.17 is where I ended up exiting after navigating this trade. Ended up taking some off the table here, waited for price action to head up. I added to my position. So I navigated the trade this way. But look at what happened. Price just continued to consolidate sideways. And look at the RSI. It stayed bullish the entire move. And when I say bullish on the intraday time frame, I mean that price action or the RSI never dropped below 30 and no low pivots were taken out until the end of the day. At this point, I was already out of the trade. I anticipated a move at least down to $95. That's where I was telling my traders. But because of the sideways consolidation, I didn't want to this trade to go against us when we were already in the money. And now look at it, it's trading at about $101, $102. Now, if we turn on the extended trading hours, look at what happened to the price. Price of MP, and I told you guys this could go up to $100, got up to almost $105. So ultimately, this, although our trade of the day didn't play out, it gave everything that I thought was going to happen with this particular stock. I thought it was going to move higher based on the previous day's RSI. And then I thought a $100 target could be achieved. And then 4 to 5% pullback or 4 to 6% pullback off of that upside target of $92.50. So these are some of the ways that I use the RSI to institute particular trade levels and setups so that way we could take advantage of extended markets. Okay, and I will be going into Rigetti a little bit later. That stock looks like it's ready to continue higher. But first off, let's go into Fastenal. Sometimes I like to give you guys some long plays as well. So Fastenal, FAST, continued lower. This was a bearish consolidation on the price action. So basically, if you flip the script on MP, FAST is the inverse of what happened. You see this price action ended up getting a little bit of a bounce, but then just consolidated sideways. And now look at what is happening. $42 is where price is currently sitting. Look at the negative price action, or the negative, I guess, consolidation on the RSI. Stayed low, bearish. Now look at Fastenal on the intraday time frame. If Fastenal gets down a little bit lower, this $40.84, you've got this little bit of a pivot point here. This would be a great opportunity to enter a day trade. Now, more of a swing trade, even though we are starting to get oversold on the RSI, Fastenal didn't have a lot of price action. So what I look for is volatility. 7%, 13%, 6%, 8%. This is not enough for me to say this gives me a good indication of what's going on in the RSI. So I would wait for a further move to the downside. So I'm targeting this upsloping trend line right here as far as support goes. And so I'm looking at about $38.62 for a day trade. I mean, for a swing trade. Even though the RSI is trading at 23, this is your first level of support. But ultimately, again, I think it's going to go down even further. LVS is another chart that was, here we go, was also beaten up. Bearish consolidation throughout the rest of the day. You did get this little bit of a bounce, about a 2%. After that, though, there was no price consolidation that pushed price higher. And then look at what happened. The RSI stayed below the 30. So it never got above the 70, never took out some high pivots. This indicates to me that the price action is going lower. Not sure why all these are doing this. So right now you're in a pretty decent amount of support. So basically $45 Pierce, which we're currently at, you're going to get some support. So you should get about a 2 to 3% bounce off of this level. Now, if it flushes through that level, your next area of support is $43.51. And actually, this is my RSI trade of the day. So my RSI trade of the day is LVS, $43.51. That would be a continuation move of about 6% to the downside. You got this beautiful gap fill. The RSI on the daily time frame would be getting close to the 30 with a little bit of volatility in LVS. Not a ton, but still a little bit. But this is ultimately where I'm looking to pick it up, $43.51. Now it has to get there by 11:30 or else this is off the table. And if it gets close, let's say it gets below $44, but doesn't hit our entry price on and it gives us our 2 to 3% bounce, that trade is off the table. So a couple different factors that I'm looking for: price right into that level, and then we can get a pretty sizable bounce off this. WYNN, Wynn Resorts, is the same price consolidation to the downside, negative divergence, or basically negative RSI, indicating that this is a bearish sentiment. Why are all these doing this? Anyways, okay, so you got this upsloping trend line on WYNN. So I'm anticipating price target of $103.95. Okay, all right, I've gone through a lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to restore a couple of these connections so you guys don't have to see it. Anyways, Rigetti, the price consolidation, the price action in Rigetti, to me is signaling that there's still more buying pressure to be had. I'm going to show you the regular charts, and then I'm going to show you the logarithmic charts. So it seems as if there's still a lot of volatility in Rigetti, but based on this previous price action, the consolidation or the price action hasn't changed a whole lot in the last week or two. This to me is telling me that there's bulls setting up to drive this price higher. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into Rigetti. Let me show you what I'm seeing in the charts. Here is what Rigetti was doing previously. So in the beginning of 2025, you had these 75% moves, and then you got 150% move to the upside, 58%. And look at what happened. The volatility started to die out. It looks like we're on a great run, and then we turn to logarithmic, and then you can see that we had a ton of volatility in the beginning time frame, and now all of a sudden, based on the current price action, the volatility has kind of waned. Even though the RSI is super high, this doesn't say that we're going to roll over. This is telling you that there are still a lot of buyers in Rigetti. For me, Rigetti is going to go higher. I say 75, even up to $100. The first level for me is 75 bucks. So that is a pretty sizable move to the upside. Still another 35% higher, and then could even reach $100. Once it gets up to $100, even with this negative RSI divergence, that is where I would likely short it. But I am still anticipating a pretty sizable move to the upside in Rigetti. QBTS, not quite the same price consolidation as Rigetti, but QBTS I think has a little bit further upside to go. Let me go ahead and switch to the daily time frame and show you what I'm seeing in this chart. So a little bit more volatility in Rigetti, in QBTS than RGTI. So for me, I would say this has a potential upside of $50. I know previously it was $40, but it's not as bullish as Rigetti. And so that is why I like the charts of Rigetti. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go over a couple more charts. ALK is another one that I'm looking at, starting to put in some positive RSI divergence. So what I'm talking about with positive RSI divergence, you've got price action continuing a little bit lower, where the RSI is continuing a little bit higher. Ultimately, I think that $42.87 is where ALK can go. This chart is actually doing pretty good as far as overall volatility. So I like the chart. So it does indicate to me, or it tells me, that the RSI is something to pay attention to. So having positive RSI divergence is going to be a good thing for the ALK chart. And the last but not least is ENPH. This one has now, for me, put in a reversal. So what I'm looking at is this reverse or inverse head and shoulders pattern that's possible to play out. This could be a catch-up play with all the other energy stocks ripping to the upside. Now, it does have this down-sloping trend line, so price action could head down and tag this down-sloping trend line. So for me, I love the fact that the RSI hasn't continued lower. The RSI from here got to the 70, put in this nice bullish consolidation. So as long as price action stays above $29.95, for me, it's going up to $58.33. All right, so there you guys have it. You guys have a couple different long plays for you, have a couple short plays, momentum plays to the upside. MP, I still think at $105 or even $110, I would likely short that again today. It's getting overextended. I think that it's kind of reaching its peak potential as far as this trade goes, even with the JP Morgan lending them $1 billion. I think ultimately that is eventually going to be a sell the news event after this rip higher. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. Please make sure you like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, ring that bell so you can get notified every morning the market is open, 8:45, and stay tuned. There is some volatility coming back in the markets. Gareth Soloway is going to tell you what is going on in my trading game plan starting at 9 o'clock. You guys don't want to miss that. We'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.